Sometimes you just need to get away from your busy life and slip into an animal skin tunic by a pristine river. Welcome to the persistent and immersive world of PAX Day. Casual Gamer got the opportunity to play the recent closed alpha of the game, and this is a video on our first impressions. Don't forget to hit that like button below and subscribe. Let's get into it. PAX Day is an MMO social sandbox game developed and co-published by Mainframe Industries and New Tales. The game is currently in closed alpha and should be in early access on Steam in spring this year. So firstly, starting with character creation. The models look great, there are a lot of customization options, and I was pretty happy with the result. Nothing looked jarring or out of place in a medieval MMO game. The devs have said that there won't be any immersion-breaking skins or items like dragon mounts or pets in the future. One thing to know in the game is that there aren't traditional classes, so you're not going to be choosing a class in the character creation screen because there aren't any in the game. Looking at the map, you get the sense that the game is massive. And it actually is. It's roughly 300 kilometres squared, or that's like 115 miles squared, with more area to be added for the full release. As a comparison, some of the largest Rust maps are around 60 kilometres squared, and Valheim is roughly 300 kilometres squared. The game world just feels enormous, mainly because you can see for miles. When you stand up on a mountain, you can see way in the distance and it's very clear, it's nice and sharp, there's no blurriness to the mountains. The world is divided into 4 main regions: Gallia, Gothia, Iberia and Anatolia. The initial release will focus on Gallia, and that's split into provinces, which includes heartland provinces and contested provinces. The heartlands are where the home valleys are, which is where you can build your villages. It's also important to know that it's a persistent game world, which basically means that if you queue up loads of charcoal in your kiln to be built, when you log in the morning, it'll be done. So when you're looking at a spot to settle in, which is basically the first thing you're going to want to do when you get into the game, what really should you be looking for? What you'll notice is that there are resources everywhere. There are trees, there are flowers, mushrooms, there's wildlife. The game is just teeming with life. But when you choose an area to build a camp, you'll probably want to settle near an important resource. Now, you won't know what the important resources are to begin with in the game. You'll get to know this over time. But your natural instinct is probably to settle near water. And the waterways in this game are spectacularly beautiful. You can build a camp on a waterway, but you're going to want to know you won't need the water itself. Instead, you'll want the resources that are by the water. So you'll want clay, you'll want reeds, you'll want flint, those kind of resources that the area offers. During the alpha, we happened to settle in the highlands simply because the view was unbeatable. There were plenty of trees near us, but we also discovered that we were near to unpure iron deposits. You can mine these and refine them into iron ingots. The alpha didn't feature a fast travel system, so you're walking and running everywhere, although apparently there will be a limited method of getting around in the full release. This means that wherever you settle, you're likely to have to walk to gather the resources you'll need. PAX Day isn't a survival game, so you won't have mechanics like starvation or loss of capabilities due to lack of rest, although eating food can provide buffs or cause poisoning as well. Your character does have a stamina bar, but I never really noticed it during things like mining or building in the alpha. It didn't really ever bother me. So on to building your camp. In the alpha, building a shelter was not necessary. It didn't give you anything. Except for maybe bragging rights. But I wanted to try it out, so I built what I could out of the resources that we had on hand. The first thing I learnt pretty quickly is that the building system actually runs on a physics system, which is similar to the Valheim one. So things like roofs have to make sense structurally. You can't just build crazy houses and expect them to stay up. There are also limited cosmetic options for making my settlement into a home, but they have said that there will be more options in the full release to do this. In terms of the day-night cycle and the weather systems in the game, the daytime is much longer than the nighttime. The nights are dark, but not as eerily dark as a game like Enshrouded, where you actually need a source of light to be able to wander around and complete tasks. There are weather elements as well, such as fog, but I didn't see any rain or storms or anything like that. In terms of the questing system in PAX J, players will inhabit the world, they'll build towns, they'll handle trading and crafting, and the game will feature creatures and AI enemies in PvE, but there'll be no traditional MMO NPC cities, quest givers or vendors. This means that the game will offer quest-like content through lore, mysteries and clues discovered by exploring the world, examining books, getting access to notes and artifacts. That way you'll find dungeons, you'll find hidden treasures and rare rewards. The crafting and levelling system is the only area which I wasn't particularly happy with in the alpha. There is a skill for levelling everything that happens in the game, from cooking to leatherwork, weaponsmithing and even polearm mastery. It reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy XIV, where all the crafting materials are used for other professions and other items. Crafting as it stands, it's a long grind. And as an example, we wanted to get a low-level hat. It was going to require 7,800 flax. Now, each time you gather flax, you get about 8 per run. So you can see that that is an onerous task. And that was for only one item that we needed for levelling our tailoring skills. They know this is an issue and they've talked about balancing the crafting and levelling, so hopefully they can work that out by the time of the full release. In terms of player interaction, the game is a social sandbox MMO, which means that groups of players will do well with building settlements and starting clans, creating hierarchies and roles, sharing resource and crafting responsibilities. That's not to say that you couldn't play on your own, perhaps founding a little settlement of your own, trading with a nearby village or something like that. However, your progress is bound to be considerably slower because the resource gathering and crafting systems, as it stands, are very time consuming. In terms of the end game, we didn't actually get to see much of that in the alpha, but there is a PvP system. And it's essentially areas on the map where you can go and mark yourself hostile and kill other players. There are also dungeons in the full release that will offer varying levels of challenges and different types of loot. So this game is going to appeal to you if you want to immerse yourself in a pioneer life, if you want to feel part of a living, breathing community in a beautiful, detailed and well-crafted medieval setting. Or you could just find yourself a peaceful spot and settle, take your time and find pleasure in doing simple things. This game offers that opportunity for that kind of escapism, and we're really excited for the full release later this year. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Is it the kind of game that you can see yourself playing?